Bone Wand is currently one of the top healing weapon combinations in PvP, but it's not easy to understand what skills to take, how to spend your skill specialization points or how to gear, with the almost endless possibilities you have in Throne and Liberty. That's why in this guide we will be focusing on building the perfect Bone Wand pure healing build. We will focus here on large scale PvP, so 50 versus 50 or even more players, which is most of the main PvP content. Let's start with what skills we should take. So compared to our PvE healing build, this time I would suggest you taking all 5 possible healing skills. So from the wand, the single target heal with 2 charges, the AoE heal with the short cast time, and the AoE heal area. And from the bow we take Healing Touch, our single target hot, and of course Flash Wave, which is our huge AoE damage hot debuff spell. The nice thing is that all those different skills give us healing for different situations in large scale PvP, which we'll be talking about throughout this guide. Now for utility skills we take for sure the 2 shields from the wand. So the shield that can absorb damage and the shield that gives a lot of defense and increases our healing power on the target. In my last healing PvE guide, a lot of people complained about not taking these 2 spells because I said it's useless in PvE. And I'm pretty confident that these spells are still useless in PvE. But in PvP it's a must-have, it's just really strong. You can protect people from getting one-tap from assassins, and that includes of course also ourselves. It's just a must-have, we have to take it. So now from the bow we take for sure Nature's Blessing, where we hire our mana generation and HP generation for our whole group. And removing also additionally a debuff, which is already really good, but secondly it has a nice synergy with Healing Touch, our single target hot, which we will see later on the skill upgrades. Next we take Purifying Touch, which can remove one crowd control effect from one of our teammates. So that means a stun or a sleep or similar. And the meta currently relies a lot on paladins sleeping whole groups of enemies and greatswords following up with devastating smash to stun all of them. Purifying Touch can sadly only remove the CC of one person, but is still really valuable in many situations in the current meta. By the way, you sadly can't remove a CC effect from yourself. Okay, one of the next must-haves is Blitz. So Blitz lets you reset one of your spells. So you can use 2 times Fountain Life or remove 2 CC spells from your teammates. The possibilities here with Blitz are just endless and just incredibly strong, and you should always take that. Now we will take Tornado, which is already an upgrade from the Arrow Vortex, but it changes the spell completely, therefore let's already talk about Tornado. With this spell you can cast a huge tornado which knocks all players up in the air when hit by it. In large scale PvP you can really nicely use this for peeling for yourself and for your whole team. The skill can be also used offensively, but for this you will bring yourself in danger really fast, because as a bow and wand healer you don't have any mobility and it's often just way too risky to use the spell offensively. This is also one of the reasons why we don't take the sleep bomb in our build. So there's currently a crazy skill combination on the game where you instant sleep a target and then spread the sleep to all nearby targets. And yes, that's a crazy powerful combination you want to have plenty of times in your roster, so you can set up for greatsword players to engage on those sleeping clumps. So why shouldn't the healer take it? Because by searching for the opportunity for those sleep bombs, you will bring yourself always in danger, and as a bow wand healer you don't have mobility and you will never ever set up a game-changing sleep bomb. If you need more sleep bombs, then optimize your roster and get more paladins in. You are a healer and not setting up the engages. Additionally, you have so many healing spells and utility spells, you have constantly something to do. And you just looking for the opportunity might be a reason why one of your teammates wasn't full life and dies on the next engage from the enemies. So the sleep bomb is really strong, but it's not good on bow wand healers. Now the last slot you can fill as you want. You can take your damage or whatever. But what I like to do is using Time for Punishment, and you will understand this when we will do now our skill specializations. Okay, first of all I have to mention here that we have too many good upgrades here, and we just can't take all, we have to make compromises. And of course some of those decisions are really playstyle dependent. That's why we take first of all the mandatory stuff, so from my point of view. And then I will tell you all the other nice things and will show you of course what I would do, but you could adjust this of course for yourself. Okay, so let's start again with the healing spells. So Flash Wave we have already upgraded. Usually it's not such a huge healing wave, so we have to take it of course. And additionally, we always should take the blind upgrade, which reduces the accuracy from our enemies. Just having such a huge AoE spell reducing the accuracy from all our enemies by 300 is huge. And we just have to take that. That's why we're also not using this spell always for healing. In a lot of cases we're actually trying to debuff here our enemies. Then for healing touch we have to lower the mana cost, especially early on when your gear is not optimized. Healing spells just cost a ton of mana. And the idea about healing touch is that we constantly spam this on all our party members. Since it has a really short cooldown, reducing here the mana cost by 30% is crazy good. When you have more optimized gear later on and you feel like you don't need it, then reskill that of course. Okay, so for swift healing I would always take a healing transfer, that we always additionally also heal ourselves when we are using the spell. That also means that when we heal ourselves with swift healing, that we heal ourselves even more. So if you are dropping low, healing yourself will almost always bring you back to full life so quick. And it also lets you stay full life all the time when you are healing your mates. For me personally, just a must-have. The upgrade that we can use the ability now 3 times is a no-brainer, it's just really good. Okay, and now there's one type of upgrade for a lot of the WAN skills which is really good. And that's the 5 meter increased range for swift healing, clay of salvation and invincible wall. Since your bow spells have usually a higher range, you can fix the gap with those upgrades. It's of course not for all of the WAN skills, but it's still really good. So if you are a good healer, being alive and in range of your group, it's really hard that your group can die because you have so many possibilities to keep them alive. But you have no mobility as a bow WAN player. One good CC and you might be insta-dead. That's why playing on max range is just crazy good, because you can position yourself just much better. So it's just something you should always take. Now for Fountain Life, our last tier spell, we only need the range increase, which makes not the castable range higher, but the healing area bigger. Which is of course really insane and makes the placement just a lot easier. And your party members have also more freedom on the battlefield to play with it. Okay, now let's come to the utility spells. Here we also have a few must-have upgrades. So we already upgraded the range from Invincible Wall, but now we want to make it also for our whole party instead of only for one player. If you are like me and want to play with Time for Punishment, I would also say that you have to change it now to Enchanting Time. Now you can use the spell on your teammates to increase their skill damage boost. Skill damage boost also hires your heals, so you can also use it on yourself. But the efficiency is better for DPS than for heals. For myself, for example, I hire my skill damage by 10%, but my heals only by 5%. So I think it's always better to try to cast this on teammates, but it's also fine to cast it on yourself. Depending on your target's buff duration, you can have this also constantly on a player. And then the next utility spell we have to upgrade is Nature's Blessing. I told you there's a nice combination with Healing Touch. So when Healing Touch is active on a player and you use Nature's Blessing, then everyone gets an additional crazy hot. And this hot, when you stack all your passives, can be ridiculous. But even if not all your passives are stacked, you get your always 1k additional heal per second for all of your party members. So everyone gets this buff who has Nature's Blessing and Healing Touch at the same time on it. And as mentioned already, you want to have on all your party members constantly Healing Touch be stacked. And when the fight breaks out, you just press Nature's Blessing and every one of your party gets a huge hot. And this is of course a huge advantage for your team. You're starting to understand maybe now what a good WAN player can do here. If you time that well, you are getting such a huge advantage to the opposing team. So a really good upgrade if you use it well. So the last upgrade I would say is a must-have is the Blitz upgrade for the reduced cooldown reduction. But only if you have it on max level. So with the upgrade you can reduce the cooldown by 15 seconds. If you have it like me on Epic 1, then it has 100-second cooldown. So the 15 seconds are not that crazy, but already good. But if you have the skill on Epic 5, it only has 16 seconds cooldown. And then you could reduce it to 45 seconds. This is crazy strong. Like as mentioned before, the possibilities with the spell are just endless. And a good bone WAN player will shine here. But when the release hits, it will of course take some time till we level up our spells. So we won't take them here at the beginning. Keep that for sure in mind. Okay, now we have our must-have skills skilled and we have only 16 points left. But now there are still so many good points. Okay, so what I would do here is upgrade now Nature's Blessing so that it reduces its cooldown when you remove a weaken with it. And if you're not just spamming it, but using it at the start of the fight, as I told you before, then every one of your teammates will have a weaken on them, which will then remove and lower the cooldown again from Nature's Blessing, which is of course really strong. Additionally, I would also take here the Whirlwind upgrade, because you can reposition yourself really nicely all the time again. And at last, I would take here the increased width from Flash Wave, because it just makes it easier to get the accuracy debuff on your enemies. And I think that's just really important. Okay, we don't have points anymore, but there are still some other things which are really good and can and also should be considered. Alright, so let me show you and you can decide for yourself if you want to take it. First, you can increase the hot duration of Flash Wave. And this can be really strong if you are more playing for hitting your teammates than hitting your enemies. The 3 seconds longer hot sounds not too much, but with a lot buff duration it can easily be almost 5 seconds. And then it can be even 5 to 7k more HP regeneration for your teammates. So also a really good upgrade. Some people like here also the other healing touch upgrades. I don't think they are good. I would not take them because I think they are just way too situational. Okay, but then what is really good is the cooldown decrease from Purifying Touch, because removing more CC effects from our teammates can be of course really strong. Next we have Fountain Life increased duration feels also really good, because it's a 6 to 8 second increase, which is huge, but often the fight tend to move anyways a little. So it's again a little bit more situational, I would say. But of course can be really powerful. And then we have the Weaken removal from Clay Observation. This can be also really good, and depending on the meta, for sure a good option. The last upgrade, which is also nice, is the effect duration of enchanting time. Again, 3 seconds could mean here 4 to 5 seconds, and that can be really huge. Okay, but that's all for the skill specializations. Now let's look on the passives. Okay, first of course we take here all the passives which increase our healing power. So Devotion of Emptiness boosts our healing power and cooldown during the day. Noble Revival boosts just flat our healing power depending on our mana. Saint Oath increase our healing output when we are hit by any skill damage, which of course happens constantly in PvP. And Selfless Soul again increase our mana regeneration and healing power if we heal someone. And then we take also Earth Blessing from the bow to even increase the healing power for all of our HOTS. When we have that, we for sure want also to take here the 2 defensive skills from the bow, Devoted Shield and Distorted Sanctuary, which has a chance to give us a shield when we are weakened and higher our endurance depending on how many party members are near us. So both really good and we take it. So for the last point I'm still not 100% sure what to take, because nothing feels really good. But what I at least constantly feel is the increased curse duration. Even though we have only one curse spell, I think it's the only passive which is really useful. That's why I would always use this passive here. So now we only have to decide what passive block we actually have to take. The Wand can deal some additional damage, give us an additional heal and reduce our curse cooldowns. All not bad, but the bow roll block is just incredible good, because we are getting an additional dash if we block in Fury attack. And additionally we are getting 900 evasion for 2 seconds. It just helps us to survive more, so we will always take here the bow block. Okay, that would be my skills I would take as a full healer in large scale PvP. As mentioned, with knowledge and a lot of experience you can get a lot out of this build. But of course you can also freely tune and tweak here certain points to your needs and playstyle. Okay, let's come to the Masteries. So for the Wand you want for sure Redemptive Penance, which hires your healing power by 8%, which is of course really good. If it's the same as in career, then you will have only 13 points to skill in the beginning. That's why I would take here the complete recovering tree, including the 100 heavy attack chance. Heavy attack is not always the best choice for healing, but it's of course also not bad. And the last 3 points we will put on the weaken tree, where we get an additional mana cost efficiency, which is of course especially in the beginning really helpful. After a while we will probably also get then 16 points to spend. And then I would highly suggest you to go 10 points into the damage tree and get there all the nice cooldown reduction. And then we still can get the additional healing power in the recovery tree. But yeah, in the beginning probably not possible. Okay, so let's come to the bow. Here we really don't want to have one of the final passives. So we would get a little bit of CC resistance, blind duration or critical damage. Nothing sounds really good here. So here I would spend 6 points into the support tree and 6 points into the check tree. So you get the 80 skill damage resistance and 4% cooldown speed. Because of this additional skill damage resistance from the bow, it's important that you will always constantly stay on your bow in fights. Because if you are getting engaged on, you want the skill damage resistance to be active. Again, as a reminder, the passive tree are only active if you are using the weapon. So always be on the bow that the skill damage resistance is active. Okay, that's it for the masteries. Let's come to the final point, and that's what gear to take. As mentioned already a few times in my videos, when we talk about gear, we have to talk about the different phases. Starting with green gear, then blue gear, and then epic 1 gear. And finally epic 2 gear. Epic 2 is far into the future, probably 2 to 4 months after release, therefore we don't care about that yet. So I've built you guys here a green gear, a blue gear and 3 different types of epic 1 gear. The epic 1 gear include 1 low budget build and 2 BIS builds which are a little bit harder to get. But here in comparison to PvE, the best in slot builds are actually quite a bit of better. But as long as you are in an active guild, you should be able to achieve also those kind of builds. Okay, we will be mainly talking about 1 BIS build because on that we can explain most of the decisions for all builds. So when it comes to gearing as Bone Vent Healer, we have to get as tanky as possible. Because we don't have any mobility and everyone wants to kill us. Usually you have 2 choices when it comes to building defense. Either you stack evasion or you stack endurance. Never stack both, it's really useless. Probably my next video will explain you that more in detail and will show you when it makes sense to build evasion and when endurance, and how much do you need that it actually becomes useful. Okay, but since our skill passives gives already endurance, it makes a lot of sense to go here also for endurance. So you can also go for evasion, but from my perspective it's for sure not as good on Bow Vent. The nice thing about endurance is that you don't have to completely commit your whole gear to it. What we will do here with our build is that we only take endurance from our traits. We don't take any additional items just because they give additional endurance. So then we have just a few hundred endurance for all attack types, and then additionally we will get up to 300 endurance on top through our skill passive, which is totally fine. If you do the same with evasion, so just having a few hundred evasion, the evasion will be completely useless. But as mentioned, more on this in the next video. So on what are we focusing then our gear if not on endurance? And that's just max HP. You will see that a lot of those items will give us either directly max HP or gives us strength, that we are able to reach the 60 strength threshold. Strength in itself gives us already max HP, but also the 30 and the 60 point threshold. With that we come to almost 17k life with epic 1 gear. This is just crazy good as a healer, and in addition we will have quite a bit of endurance to reduce the overall crit chance from our enemies. So this will make us in total really tanky. Okay, now we have quite a bit of defense, which is of course really nice. But what else is really important here? First of all, mana regeneration and mana cost efficiency. We have so many heal spells, and if you want to be able to cast them all the time, you need to have mana rec in some way. You don't have like the starving ability to recharge all your mana, so you need to build for mana rec and mana cost efficiency. The next thing we already talked about, and that is range. As mentioned, it is just really important for us as healer. That's why we also take here for example the ring with additional range. But also we want to achieve here at least 50 points into perception, so that we are here also getting the additional range from it. It just makes you so much safer, you should always try to get it. And since you're then already at 50 perception, if possible go also here for 60 perception. Even though hit is for you not the most important stat, but additional hit will make it a lot more easy to hit your tornado and your flash wave. So if you are able to get it with your gear, try to achieve it. So in total most of the items are just selected because they give max HP, mana regeneration, mana cost efficiency, cooldown reduction, movement speed and a lot of the correct base stats. And that's mostly all you need to understand here. So for the second epic 1 build, we only would change the wand. So with the other wand, we have more mana and we get additional strength to achieve our thresholds. But with the new one, we have the nice passive that we are going into stealth if we are dropping too low. Which is of course crazy strong and is a good alternative which I need to mention here, because survivability is for us just everything. And in addition, this wand is also way easier to get. Okay, then of course I have here also a low budget build and the 2 other builds for the early game. But they follow all the same principle as the build I just explained. We just have now limited amount of items for those builds available. So you will find also a lot of evasion builds for the early game, but as mentioned, I think it's not good on bow wand, especially because you want to try to be consistent throughout your builds. So don't try to build first evasion and then transition into endurance, because you won't transition all at once, you will transition armor piece after armor piece. Therefore, either way go evasion or go endurance, but trust me and go endurance. And of course watch my upcoming video about endurance versus evasion. Okay, but that's it for the guide. All you need to know when it comes to healing in PvP as a bow and wand player. Now you need of course to get experience with the build. It's not easy to play, but it has by far the best potential as a healer. It's ridiculous what you can do with this build. Okay, but I hope you could learn something. If you like the content and want to support me, subscribe, like and share. Love you all and see you in the next one.